Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy Edit. Today's video, we're going to be talking about some rookie breakouts for fantasy football in 2021. I am also going to talk about, in this video, some rookie breakouts that I don't think are actually going to break out, but a lot of the fantasy industry is talking about, so I'm going to kind of give my argument against those players in this video. So it's basically just a video talking about rookies, but the best SEO is titling this video, Rookie Breakouts for fantasy football in 2021. So if you guys do end up enjoying this video at any point and you end up having a great time, please make sure that if you are new to hit that subscribe button down below, because not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. Please make sure that you hit that subscribe button, because not only does it help me, it's also going to be helping you guys win your league or your leagues, because a lot of people now, they play in multiple leagues. So make sure you do that. And if you are not new, please make sure that you hit that like button down below so that my video can go up the algorithm and more people like yourself can watch the video. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first player to be talking about in today's video is the most obvious rookie breakout, because he's currently coming off the board as running back number 13 on Underdog ADP. That is running back formerly of the Alabama Crimson Tide, now of the Pittsburgh Steelers, running back Naji Harris. Now, with Naji Harris, he is coming into a very, very weird situation when you think about how running backs transition to the Pittsburgh Steelers normally. A guy like James Conner gets drafted a couple of years ago, and he comes into the league with a great offensive line. That is why James Conner was pretty successful early on in his career. Last season, we see that completely fall apart due to a garbage offensive line in Pittsburgh, and frankly, it has not gotten much better. Their all-pro guard ended up just fucking getting cut from the team, so this offensive line is not going to be the offensive line where Le'Veon Bell could stand back there, stutter step for like 5 seconds, a hole will open up, and he runs for like 150 yards a game, right? That may be a bit of an exaggeration, but you get what I'm saying, where the offensive line holds the wall down, and Naji Harris is just able to do whatever, or that Le'Veon Bell was able to do whatever he wants back there. That's not going to be the case for Naji Harris. Last year, the Pittsburgh Steelers were very inefficient at rushing the ball, with only 1,351 rushing yards as a team on 373 rushing plays, which is very different to what you think of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, again, the Steelers are not one of those teams that is a power rushing offense. They're not like the Baltimore Ravens that way, but they are a team that likes to get down and dirty in the trenches normally under Mike Tomlin. But the thing is, when you have a bad offensive line, it's better to try to stand in shotgun, have Big Ben stand a bunch of feet back, try to get the ball and get rid of it as soon as possible before the guy gets put in the hospital for the 7,000th time. So that's what they were trying to do, and I think that's a lot of what they're going to try to do this year, but I do believe with Naji Harris, with a much better running back, because again, like I said, James Conner's success as a Pittsburgh Steelers running back was heavily heightened by the fact that the offensive line was so good, and last year, when the offensive line was very, very much not good, not very great. I'm not even sure if that's a real sentence you can write in the English language, but what I'm saying is that it wasn't as good as it was in the past, so James Conner struggled. The thought is that with Naji Harris here, that even with a worse offensive line, Naji Harris is still a very talented running back, and he should be able to overcome the adversity of having a god-awful offensive line, and the thought is that they're going to try to run the ball more because they believe in Naji Harris, where I think last season they stopped really believing in James Conner pretty quick into the season. Right now, Naji Harris is also coming off the board overall on Underdog ADP, pick 17.2, so he's a second-round pick, but don't be surprised by the time of August or early September when you're actually doing your drafts that Naji Harris climbs his way up the draft board and ends up being a first-round pick, because rookie hype gets real every single year. All of these guys, ADP will rise as in training camp in a couple of weeks in preseason. These guys are going to make 2-3 good plays that get put on Instagram, get put on Twitter, get put on NFL Network, ESPN, whatever you're watching on your television, and people will will just ejaculate with their eyes. They'll be like, God damn, did you see what X did? Did you see what this guy did? Did you see what that guy did? That was crazy. And his ADP starts rising and rising and rising like your cock in the morning, and then bada bing, bada boom, Naji Harris ends up in the first round. Would I take him in the first round? Probably not, if I'm being honest with you, because of the worries of the offensive line. But in the second round, with a coach in Mike Tomlin that likes to run the ball, I think Naji Harris should be relatively good this season. I think right now, going in the second round is a pretty solid ADP for Naji Harris. A couple of, probably like a month or two ago, following the NFL draft, Naji Harris was like a third round pick, and he's just going to continue to rise. But I don't really see a way he gets into the first round of average draft position, unless, of course, he gets that extreme rookie hype from making one play in practice. He's already getting snaps as the #1 running back on the team because he is the guy in that offense. Benny Snell, all these other guys just cannot simply sniff his jockstrap. He is going to be the guy getting all of the touches in this offense, and Naji Harris is also one of those running backs like Le'Veon Bell, who's very talented in the two aspects of the game that are very important for fantasy football, as well as being a great NFL running back at this point in the NFL. He's not just one of those big bruiser backs like a guy like Derrick Henry. You rarely see a guy like Derrick Henry now in the NFL. These guys need to be good at catching the ball as well. Otherwise, they just don't see as much playing time as the guys that can catch the ball, unless, of course, you're talking about Derrick Henry, who, again, is just a special, elite human being. Guy's a unit. He's a monster, so that's why he's on the field so much, because he's just so good at running the ball. But Naji Harris, let's look at his last 2 years of stats at Alabama. In 2019, he had 13 games, 209 rushing attempts for 1,224 rushing yards, 5.9 yards per carry, 20 total touchdowns, 27 receptions on 36 targets, 304 receiving yards, and an 8.9% target share in that Alabama offense. At 22 years old last season in 2020, playing in 13 games, 251 rushing attempts, 1,466 rushing yards. He had 43 receptions, 57 targets, 425 receiving yards, 30 total touchdowns, and a 13.4% target share in that Alabama Crimson Tide offense. I believe that Naji Harris fits like a glove. Shout out to O.J. Simpson in this Pittsburgh Steelers offense. And again, it is really a no-brainer to call Naji Harris a rookie breakout, unless he gets hurt. Even with this piss-poor offensive line, I think that where he's going right now is the correct price for running back Naji Harris of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Next up, we got a guy that I believe can be the rookie wide receiver #1 this season. At the end of the year, he is the best rookie wide receiver. That is wide receiver of the Philadelphia Eagles, Devonta the Slim Reaper Smith. Current underdog ADP 73.9, underdog ADP wide receiver number 33. Now, in terms of vacated production for a NFL team, the Eagles don't have very good vacated stats at all. That would be 30 targets, 17 receptions, 255 receiving yards, and 1 receiving touchdown. But I wouldn't really look too heavily into that. I will be talking about vacated production with a lot of the wide receivers in this video, but I would kind of try to overlook that because, in my opinion, Devonta Smith slides into this roster as the best wide receiver on this roster by far. Jalen Reagor did not do too much in his rookie year. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside is a nobody. They don't really have a true wide receiver one, and that is why they pulled the trigger in the first round with the 10th overall pick with wide receiver out of Alabama, Devonta Smith. Now, a lot of people will use the crutch that Devonta Smith was the Heisman as to why he's going to be so good. Just so you know, every guy who wins the Heisman isn't guaranteed to be good in the NFL. Shout out to Tim Tebow. That was a shot in the dark, to be honest. I love Tim Tebow. That was just an example that quickly went into my head. Johnny Football, guys like that who just do not really succeed at the NFL level. But Devonta Smith, in my opinion, got the perfect opportunity to succeed. Now, there is worries to me with Jalen Hurts. I'm not too sure how good of an NFL player Jalen Hurts is, but I do think that most people right now are projecting Jalen Hurts to actually be pretty good, and I am as well, so I think that Devonta Smith should be fine in this offense, again, being the overwhelming wide receiver one in this room. There is frankly no way that any other wide receiver in this room is as good as Devonta Smith, at least in my opinion. In college, Devonta Smith put up some very beautiful stats. In 2019, at 21 years old, he played in 13 games, 68 receptions on 86 targets. He had 1,256 receiving yards and 14 receiving touchdowns in 2020 at 22 years old. Plays in 12 games, 117 receptions on 147 targets, 1,800 receiving yards, as well as 23 receiving touchdowns. Shout out to Michael Jordan. So Devonta Smith dominated the last 2 years at the collegiate level for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and I believe that he is going to be able to do the same thing at the NFL level. He is, just like I said, by far and away the best wide receiver in this offense, and the reason why I believe he could be the best wide receiver for fantasy football out of all of these rookies is because these other guys that are on this list are in kind of crowded, not even kind of, they're definitely in crowded wide receiver rooms. And what I mean by that is that they have wide receivers on their team that can be talked about as better than them. But Devonta Smith slots himself into a team with a bunch of used fucking condoms at the wide receiver position. Devonta Smith will be the wide receiver one of this team. The only question mark, again, is if Jalen Hurts is able to be a great passer. The reason why a lot of people like the reason why a lot of people like Jalen Hurts for fantasy football is because of that rushing upside, because it takes a lot less in fantasy football rushing than it does passing to get points. You only have to throw the ball. You have to throw the ball 25 yards to get 1 point. You only have to rush the ball 10 yards to get 1 point. So that's why people like Jalen Hurts so much. But I believe that Jalen Hurts will be a good enough passer to feed the undisputed wide receiver one on the team with Devonta Smith. Again, the vacated production isn't all that great there. They have dealt with a lot of injuries in the past, but I do believe that Devonta Smith was the first good wide receiver choice that the Philadelphia Eagles have made in what seems like years. So I like Devonta Smith a lot here in Philadelphia. Next up, we're back on the running back train with running back formerly of the Tar Heels, UNC, North Carolina, 4th round draft pick this year, Michael Carter of the New York Football Jets, current underdog ADP 85.8, overall running back number 31. But before we break down Mr. Michael Carter, I would really appreciate that if you guys have enjoyed thus far, to remind you again to please make sure you hit that subscribe button, and if you haven't already hit that like button, please make sure to do that as well. So when it comes to Michael Carter, to me, this guy is going to actually become the running back one for the New York Football Jets. He is kind of a weird size, 5'8", 201 pounds, but that did not stop him at all at UNC. He is in a running back room that, in my opinion, is just a bunch of bums. To name a few, we got Tevin Coleman, we got Ty Johnson, we also got LaMichael Pirine, and to me, Michael Carter's the guy that the new head coach from the 49ers, Saleh, drafted is Michael Carter. He drafted Michael Carter because he liked him. If you watched the Jets video of the NFL draft, they talk about how in the 3rd round they wanted Michael Carter, and they're just sitting there like, please, no one take Michael Carter. He falls all the way to the 4th round, and the Jets basically ejaculated everywhere because that is who they wanted on their team. They wanted Michael Carter, and that is exactly who they got in the 4th round, 22 years old, out of UNC. Michael Carter, in my opinion, is the best all-around running back on this roster. The only player I can see being anywhere near close in skill is Tevin Coleman, and we know that Tevin Coleman has been anti-healthy. The opposite of healthy. This guy gets hurt when he takes a shower. He gets hurt when he's walking down the street, his shoes get untied, he falls over, and he tears his ACL. Now, again, I actually think Tevin Coleman is a good running back, and if Tevin Coleman is able to stay healthy, then Michael Carter may be slightly fooked, but you are drafting him at running back number 31. You're not drafting him to really be the guy on your team, but I think there is entirely a scenario where Michael Carter is a solid running back to flex option for your roster week in, week out, and that comes with the receiving ability of Mr. Michael Carter. Now, we're going to be talking about Javonte Williams later, who split carries with him at UNC. Michael Carter's stats aren't completely crazy, completely insane, because he was stuck in a 1-2 punch backfield. Think about Melvin Gordon and Phillip Lindsay in the past. Think about when Melvin Gordon was with Austin Eckler. It's like a 1-2 punch type of backfield. That's what they were working with in UNC. In 2020, in 11 games, Michael Carter had 156 rushes for 1,245 rushing yards, which is 8.0 yards per carry. He had 25 receptions, 30 targets, 267 receiving yards, and 11 total touchdowns on the season, with just an 8.4% target share of that UNC offense. And the UNC offense, the UNC football team, they're not the fucking basketball team. They're not very good. But still, Michael Carter is being talked up very heavily out of the New York Football Jets camp, and my thoughts are that he's better than every single one of these motherfuckers on this roster, and that he will beat down all of these guys, Mike Tyson style, to become the running back one. But there's still the thought that he's on the Jets, right? He's on the Jets. How often are the Jets going to want to run the ball? That's why it's good that he's a receiving back, that he can catch passes, because if he was not good at catching passes, then he is useless. He would be useless on the Jets, because they're going to be down deep in games. They're not going to be trying to run the ball. So that is definitely a negative towards Michael Carter. But overall, I think where he's going at running back number 31 right now, I am very happy taking Michael Carter at that current ADP. And I think there is a very good chance, like I said, that he is the lead back in this offense for the New York Football Jets. Next up, we got another kind of no-brainer player to be talking about. That is wide receiver, formerly of the LSU Crimson Tigers, joining his former quarterback Joe Burrow in Cincinnati. Underdog ADP 45.5. Wide receiver number 20 off the board, Jamar Chase, wide receiver of the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, I will dub Jamar Chase as a rookie breakout, but I am pretty worried that maybe he's going a little too high right now. A little too high for my liking. In terms of vacated production for the Cincinnati Bengals, obviously losing A.J. Green, they lost a couple players as well. They have a lot of vacated targets, 104, 47 receptions, and 523 yards, with 2 total touchdowns vacated for the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, he is likely to assume the role of the wide receiver one in this offense, but he is definitely in a crowded room, which is what I was talking about earlier with Devonta Smith. How Devonta Smith is basically battling to become the wide receiver one against a bunch of fucking idiots, whereas Jamar Chase is battling against T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd. Now, Tyler Boyd is definitely the slack guy on this team, so that shouldn't really worry you at all. If you're trying to take Tyler Boyd late in the draft, I think he should be fine. I think T. Higgins should be fine as well, and I think Jamar Chase should be good. I just feel like wide receiver 20 is a little high for my liking. I still think he should end up being a top 30 wide receiver, though, in fantasy football. And if that connection transitions, which it should, from LSU with Joe Burrow to the NFL with Joe Burrow, then he should be perfectly fine. The biggest thing to be talking about with the Cincinnati Bengals is the fact that their defense sucks so much ass that they're going to have to be throwing late in games, kind of like what I was talking about with the Jets, where Jamar Chase and this whole offense, that's why a lot of people really like Joe Burrow for fantasy, is because he has a loaded wide receiver core, and the fact that the defense is deflated, like a football in New England. If I'm being honest with you, I still don't understand why the Bengals ended up drafting Jamar Chase over protecting Joe Burrow, who just tore his ACL last season, and drafting Penei Sewell. Instead, they draft Jamar Chase. I still don't understand it, but I do get it, like, if you're playing fantasy football, right? If you're, like, talking about the NFL like it's fantasy football, get those weapons. Who cares about the offensive line? But in real life, the offensive line is very important, so I don't really necessarily understand it, but I do, because that's Joe Burrow's guy in Jamar Chase. So Jamar Chase opted out of college football last season, so his stats from 2020 are nothing. He didn't put up a single yard because he did not play at all. But in 2019, this guy went balls to the wall in the Joe Burrow LSU National Championship run, where they ended up hoisting that bitch at the end of the season. 14 games, 84 receptions, I should say, on 111 targets, 1,780 receiving yards, 21.2 yards per reception, 19.6% target share of the offense, 75.7% catch rate, 20 receiving touchdowns on the season for Mr. Jamar Chase. Now, remember last year how Justin Jefferson wasn't really getting that talked up. He wasn't. Jamar Chase is being talked up, but they went to the same school, and Justin Jefferson was second fiddle second fiddle to Jamar Chase. And Justin Jefferson took defenses last year behind the dumpster and just destroyed them anally. He was wrecking that ass of those defenses. Like, the defenses had to get a tattoo Lana Rhodes style of Justin Jefferson's name with a heart on their ass. That's how much Justin Jefferson just brutalized these defenses. And I think Jamar Chase could do the same thing. But again, this is a crowded room. There will be games where Jamar Chase disappoints, but overall, I think he is definitely, easily a rookie breakout candidate for fantasy football in 2021, and I'm fine drafting him. I just think wide receiver 20 is a little ambitious, but maybe by the time it's August, I'm going to be full on this Jamar Chase train. I'm probably going to make this video again in August, must draft rookies, because I'm going to have a better understanding of where these guys are going to be going in the draft. Because ADP changes so drastically. From right now, we're June 30th. I think tomorrow, I don't think there's a 31st of June again, not some fucking month guy who actually knows these things. So let me just click on the bottom of my screen right now. Yeah, next month, tomorrow is July. So July, the ADP keeps changing, and then in August with preseason, people are moving up and down with injuries, all that, and then towards the middle of August, I would say, then there's like basically a standstill, where this is what the ADP is, and then right then and there is when you can really establish what is happening in drafts, and I think Jamar Chase may get a little bit higher, but I still think at wide receiver 20, I understand drafting him, and I probably would in a couple of leagues take him there, but again, I think it is a little bit too high. Next up, we got a player that I actually do not believe will break out, and I think people are paying way too high for this rookie. And that is the other UNC running back, Javonte Williams, now of the Denver Broncos, underdog ADP 60.5. Now, I don't think Javonte Williams sucks at all. I think Javonte Williams is a very talented running back. You put on the tape, he looks very good at UNC. But what really worries me is the fact that Melvin Gordon is still there. Melvin Gordon is still going to be seeing touches and could be seeing more touches than Javonte Williams pretty easily. Last year, Melvin Gordon dominated this backfield when Phillip Lindsay was out, because what the Denver Broncos look to do is have a running back by committee or a two-headed backfield. They look to give the rock to Gordon, and they look to give the rock to Phillip Lindsay. So in 2020, the snap share was heavily dominated by Melvin Gordon because Phillip Lindsay was hurt. But in 2019, when Gordon and Lindsay are both healthy, we see a very close snap share between the two. Melvin Gordon had a 35.6% snap share of that Denver Broncos offense. Phillip Lindsay had 32.1% of the snaps in that offense. So why does this mean that now Javonte Williams is going to beat out Melvin Gordon? Why do people believe that Melvin Gordon will just magically dissipate in this offense? I do not really understand that narrative at all. This is the final year of Melvin Gordon's contract, which could also mean or indicate that they are going to try to run Melvin Gordon into the dirt through the fucking ground and come out on the other side of the earth. They are going to use him so much, in my opinion, because he is on his last year of the contract, and they're not going to bring him back. Javonte Williams, next season in 2022, should be the lead back of the Denver Broncos, and he should easily be a 3rd or 4th round pick in fantasy football next season. But we're talking about this season. We're talking about redraft. We're talking about the rookie season. And in Javonte Williams' rookie season, people are drafting him as running back 25. They're drafting him as underdog ADP 60.5. They're drafting him as if he has a shot to become the starter. And in my opinion, this offense is either going to be 60-40 in favor of Melvin Gordon, maybe even more, because again, he's on his rookie contract and they may try to run this guy and dig him directly into the dirt and give him, just shoot all of his load out this year and kick him to the curb. Or we see what happens with Lindsay and with Melvin Gordon, and it's 50-50. Now, I understand that the narrative is, oh, but Nick, Phillip Lindsay he wasn't even drafted. He's not as good as Javonte Williams. Okay, maybe he's not. But Phillip Lindsay is underrated severely. Like I'm Gary V out here. Underrated. He is underrated. He's very good. Javonte Williams, we haven't seen at the NFL level. Javonte Williams could be good, but I just would not be surprised at all if we see this season that Williams and Melvin Gordon are sharing the load like in one of those fucking scenes you can watch on the hub, you know what I'm saying? So I think that's what we're going to see. And I think a lot of people, unless Melvin Gordon was to get hurt, knock on wood, we do not hope for injuries, then you are going to be so pissed off that you drafted Javonte Williams this high. I'm just going to be honest with you. This feels like a situation that a lot of people are going to buy into, but they're going to be severely disappointed when they realize that Melvin Gordon's actually pretty fucking good. There's a reason why a couple of years ago, people drafted Javonte Williams, or not, why they drafted Melvin Gordon early on in drafts a couple of years ago. They're going to realize that Melvin Gordon was really good last year because he was the lead back on the team. But if you put two guys in this system, you're going to get spit out a double-headed running back duo that is going to pretty much suck for fantasy. I don't even like Melvin Gordon for fantasy, but I think he may end up being the lead rusher on this team, and I do believe that this is going to be a shit show to own for fantasy football. So again, it is possible that Williams goes ahead and balls out, but personally, I think we see this double-headed backfield in which both of these guys are dust for fantasy football unless there's an injury, just like last year. Lindsey gets hurt, Gordon steps up. If Gordon doesn't get hurt, then I don't think Williams really steps up, and if Williams doesn't get hurt, I don't think we see an electric, excellent year out of Javonte Williams or Melvin Gordon. So next up on the docket, we got wide receiver of my Miami Dolphins, underdog ADP, wide receiver 47, Jaylen, and he waddled away, waddle, till the very next day, bum, bada, bum, Jaylen Waddle, former wide receiver of the Alabama Crimson Tide, underdog ADP pick 100.5, Jaylen Waddle, 6th overall pick in the 2021 NFL Draft. Now, Jaylen Waddle played in college with Tua. Shocker. I think that's the shocker. Maybe that's two in the pink, one in the stink, but that's not what we're talking about in this video. We're talking about Jaylen Waddle. So they played in college together, obviously. What does that mean? Basically, just means that they have some sort of connection, right? And the reports are coming out of Dolphins camp that Tua and this offense are going to favor throwing the ball deep down the field. They're going to try to pass the ball more aggressively. Last year, Tua and the Dolphins were pussyfooting around. They're dumping the ball off. They're doing all this shit. They're playing like Drew Brees when Drew Brees lost all of his arm strength last season. That's what they're playing like. They're just dumping the ball off. They're playing this bullshit pussy offense where they're not trying to move the ball up the field with Tua Tagovailoa. They get rid of Chan Gailey. They throw him out the window, and they bring in this new high-powered offensive system. They want Tua to succeed, so they bring in Jaylen Waddle. They bring in Will Fuller, who's suspended for the first game, but he'll be there. They have Devontae Parker. They have Mike Gesicki. They're lining up all the pieces like a toy soldier set, and they're putting all the tanks on the offense. That's what they're doing. They're giving Tua all these opportunities, and they want to stretch the field. You want to know how you stretch the field? With Jaylen Waddle. You want to know how you stretch the field? With Will Fuller, with Devontae Parker. So that's what they're doing. So, Jaylen Waddle is also in a crowded receiver room. He is. But Tua has never played with Will Fuller, and he's played with Jaylen Waddle, so he's never played with Will Fuller. So maybe Will Fuller is the odd man out. But in my opinion, the odd man out is the guy who got overhyped last year, who I told you not to draft, Devontae Parker. DP, double penetration, Devontae Parker. He is not that guy, pal. I've made that joke in so many videos. If you guys haven't seen the video, just after this, go on YouTube, type in, "You're not that guy, pal. Trust me." And it's a funny video of this guy yelling at this kid. It's really funny to me. But Devontae Parker is not that guy, pal. Trust me. And Jaylen Waddle is that guy. Absolutely. So I like Jaylen Waddle here in Miami. He's a long shot, right? He's wide receiver 47, so you're just taking a deep throw on him. Him, Fuller, Parker, they're all going in a similar range, pretty deep in the draft. And this is probably because of the uncertainty of who's going to be the guy, as well as the uncertainty that people have around Tua. So I understand that, but I think Jaylen Waddle is definitely worthy of a late-round shot based upon how good he was in college. Last year, he was hurt, missed a bunch of games. He doesn't really have these insane college stats. His freshman year puts up 848 receiving yards on 5 receptions with 56 targets, 7 touchdowns. 2019, 13 games played, 33 receptions on 38 targets, 560 receiving yards, 6 total touchdowns last year, 6 games, 28 receptions, 591 receiving yards, 21.1 yards per reception, 4 total touchdowns. So no amazing stats, but look at check the statistics. Not even the stats, really. Don't check the statistics. Check the tape. Watch Jaylen Waddle maneuver his way up the field for the Crimson Tide. Believe that the Dolphins drafted this guy at 6 overall instead of protecting Tua for a reason, which I also think is fucking stupid as a Dolphins fan, but it is what it is. That's what we got. Jaylen Waddle, rookie breakout. Next up, we got another guy that I do not like very much. Travis Etienne, running back of the Jacksonville Jaguars. Current underdog ADP, running back numero 23, overall ADP 54.1. Now, when Travis Etienne got drafted, my face turned redder than a balloon. I don't even know. Redder than the red Solo cup I'm drinking water out of right now, okay? That's how red my face turned, because James Robinson was my guy. He was a guy that I thought was severely underrated going into next season. He was a guy that easily could finish as a top 5 running back, easily finish as a top 10 running back, and then Urban Meyer takes my face and fucking slaps me with the 1-2 Mayweather combo, the front hand, backhand, and just told me to go fuck myself, basically. Okay? That's what happened. Travis Etienne, there is no need to draft Etienne in the first round. But Nick, they wanted to bring in the Trevor Lawrence Etienne combo from college at Clemson. I understand that. I understand it. But what I don't understand is how Etienne goes into practice and Urban Meyer saying that in this rookie minicamp, he's working as a wide receiver. He's working as a wide receiver. Why the fuck did you draft Travis Etienne to work as a wide receiver when you have Laviska Shenault? When you have Laviska Shenault, who can do the exact same shit Travis Etienne does, but he's a wide receiver. I do not get it. I do not get it. And there's a lot of reports that Robinson will lead this backfield in snaps. Okay? Take the reports as you will, because reports, there's a lot of cap when it comes to the reports. There's a lot of lying. There's a lot of fake news that comes out of these reports. But take it from me. I think when you're drafting Etienne, you should just be drafting Mike Davis. You should just be drafting Myles Gaskin. You should just maybe try to draft Chase Edmonds, because at least those guys should be the running back ones on their team. Etienne could become the running back one a couple weeks into the season if Robinson gets hurt, in my opinion. The only reason why Etienne would take over is because Urban Meyer drafted him, and that's a good narrative. That is a good narrative to take against what I'm saying, is that Travis Etienne was drafted by Urban Meyer. He doesn't know James Robinson, so James Robinson can go fuck himself. So I understand that, but personally, where he's going, I just don't like the price. So buyers beware on Travis Etienne. Next up, we got the final player of this video, running back Trey Sermon of the San Francisco 49ers, formerly of the Ohio State University, underdog ADP 70.6, and I like Trey Sermon a lot, running back 28, but I'm pumping the fucking brakes on this one because it seems like, I'm sorry, my face just looked really aggressive right there, because I think that Raheem Mostert is probably going to be the guy. Probably going to be the guy getting the crack at it. Sermon is going to be listed as the running back 2 going into the season, most likely because Jeff Wilson ended up getting hurt. Jeff Wilson will probably miss anywhere from 3 to 4 to 5 weeks of the season, according to what I've read. Again, not a doctor. I'm as close to being a doctor as Johnny Sins is, so the 49ers like to run the ball a lot. They do, and they like to use a running back by orgy, meaning not a running back by committee. They use everyone. They use the whole team. Wouldn't be surprised if Kyle Shanahan went out there, took a fucking touch, and ran it for like 5 yards, okay? Because that's just what they do. They generate running backs. That's just what they do. They bring in Wayne Gallman. They have this fucking huge-ass running back orgy. But they like to run with the hot hand approach. So if Sermon gets hot and Mostert doesn't, and Sermon continues to stay hot all season, then he will be the running back 1 in most games, which is very good at pick 70.6. Personally, I am still going to be taking Raheem Mostert ahead of him because Raheem Mostert has been on this team and he has succeeded in the past. Last year, for example. Trey Sermon is new to the team, but I think Trey Sermon will get the second crack at it, and if things don't go well for Mostert, then Sermon will have been an excellent pick at running back 28, underdog ADP 70.6 in college. Trey Sermon played pretty solid, especially this season. Had a pretty good freshman and sophomore year, really dozed off in his junior season, but came back senior year, played quite well, 22 years old, 8 games played in 2020 at The Ohio State University, 116 rushing attempts, 870 rushing yards, 7.5 per carry, 4 touchdowns, 19 targets, 12 receptions, 95 receiving yards. So Sermon played pretty well at college, and I think he fits pretty well in this offense, but I'm still drafting Raheem Mostert ahead of him, but I will dub him as a rookie breakout candidate because he is on a team that likes to run the ball, like I said. They run quite efficiently, and they use a lot of running backs every single game, so the door is open for Trey Sermon to steal that job and become the guy in San Francisco. So thank you guys all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video because I really like talking about all of these players. This was a very fun video. I understand I didn't talk about any quarterbacks, but, like, what do you want me to talk about? Trevor Lawrence again? I mean, I talked about him, like, 2 days ago. Like, Zach Wilson, he'll be okay, like, quarterback 27. And then you don't really know what's going to happen with Mac Jones. You don't know what's going to happen with Justin Fields. You don't know what's going to happen with Trey Lance. So it's kind of hard to talk about those quarterbacks, at least in this rookie breakout video. Maybe by August, when I say must-own rookies in August, then boom, they're in there because maybe Trey Lance is the starter, or maybe Justin Fields is the starter of their teams, respectively. So again, thank you guys for watching. I hope you had a great time in today's video. I had a great time recording it. I hope you guys have a great hump day. Today's Wednesday, right? I'm looking at my phone. Yeah, it's Wednesday, baby. It's Wednesday, baby. Only 2 more days till the weekend. It's a 4th of July weekend. I hope that all you Americans have a great 4th of July. I think Canada also has a day, something like a 4th of July this week, I think. But if not, just have a great weekend if you don't live in the United States. I know not all of my audience lives in the U.S., so just have a great weekend regardless. I love the 4th of July, though, to me. As an American, I love that holiday. It's a great drinking holiday, and it's a nice, fun time. So let me know what you guys think about 4th of July in the comment section. Let me know what you guys are doing on 4th of July if you are in America, because, you know, obviously if you live in some other country, you're not going to celebrate the 4th of July. So have a great rest of your guys' day. I love you all. Thank you guys for everything. Make sure that you stay safe. Make sure you remember that I love you. Thank you guys again for making it this far in the video. This was a long-winded rant on these players, but I think it was fun. I really did have a fun time recording this. So thank you guys again. Stay safe as always. Goodbye.